Welcome to another episode of People All Pod. Usually when we talk about a musician releasing the absolute biggest, most inescapable song in the world, there's this expectation of lasting superstardom.
Right, like you put out a track that gets played at every wedding and grocery store, and you just think you've won the lottery.
Exactly. But the reality of the music industry is that massive overnight ubiquity is, well, it's often a trap.
It totally is. It becomes a gravity well. I mean, the song gets so big that it completely swallows the human being who wrote it.
Yeah, they just become a caricature of their own hit, forever chasing that initial high. But what if they use that massive spotlight to pivot? What if they quietly become one of the most critically acclaimed experimental cult pop stars of their generation?
Which is exactly what we are looking at today in this deep dive. We are talking about Canadian singer-songwriter Carly Rae Jepsen.
To the casual listener, she might just be the call me maybe girl. But for music critics and her massive devoted fan base, she is this subversively catchy pop savant who just completely rewrote the rules of her own career.
It's an incredibly rare survival story in the pop machine. The tension we're really exploring here is that space between commercial ubiquity and critical indie acclaim.
Because most artists only get to pick one, if they're lucky.
Right, exactly. But she managed to experience the absolute peak of the former and then intentionally construct a career out of the latter. I mean, as of March 2025, she actually ranks number 75 on Billboard's top women artists of the 21st century.
That is huge. And to understand how she secured a spot like that, you really have to realize that her foundation wasn't built in some top 40 pop factory.
No, not at all. Before understanding the pop explosion, we have to look at her roots. She was born in 1985 in Mission, British Columbia, and her early life was deeply steeped in stage performance and folk music.
Yeah, she was a total theater kid. We're talking about growing up doing musical theater, playing Annie, playing Sandy in Grease, Dorothy in The Wiz.
And that theatrical background is crucial. When you are performing in The Wiz or Annie, you're learning how to project emotion, right? How to enunciate for a live audience, how to inhabit a character.
It builds a kind of vocal discipline that, honestly, a lot of modern bedroom pop artists just don't have.
Exactly. But even with that talent, a music career was never a guarantee for her. With her parents and step-parents being teachers, she was practical. Her fallback plan was actually just to become a music instructor.
Yeah, she went to the Canadian College of Performing Arts to study. And after graduation, it was not glamorous. She moved to Vancouver's West Side and was just sleeping on a pull-out sofa.
It's hustling.
Oh, completely. Working as a barista, an assistant pastry chef, a bartender, all while just writing songs in her spare time and trying to figure it out.
And that grind continues until 2007. That's when her high school drama teacher actually convinces her to audition for Canadian Idol.
Oh, wow, Canadian Idol.
Yeah, and she goes in. But instead of just belting out a standard Whitney Houston cover like everyone else does, she sings an original song called Sweet Talker.
Which is such a bold move.
It really is. That alone shows a writer's instinct. And she ends up placing third in the competition.
Which, honestly, is the best possible outcome. Think about what happens when you win a reality competition like that. If you come in first place on, say, a reality baking show, you usually get locked into this incredibly restrictive network contract.
Oh, yeah. You're completely earned by the network.
Right. They force you to release the most generic mass-market cookbook imaginable. But if you come in second or third, you get all the national TV exposure. You win over the audience, but you don't get trapped by that contract.
You keep the creative freedom.
Exactly. You can go open the exact weird niche restaurant you actually wanted to open in the first place.
And that's exactly what she did. By placing third, she avoided the restrictive Idol contract and maintained a vital level of creative control. Her demo catches the attention of a manager, she signs with 604 records, and in 2008 she releases her debut studio album, Tug of War.
But the surprising thing about this record is how heavily folk-influenced it is, right?
Yeah, very much so. She was citing artists like Leonard Cohen and Van Morrison as her primary inspirations back then.
Wait, Leonard Cohen? The guy who wrote Hallelujah? That is a massive leap from the synthetic bubblegum pop she becomes known for.
It's a huge leap.
So how does a folk-leaning, theater-trained singer-songwriter from British Columbia end up at the center of the biggest pop explosion of the decade?
Well, the lightning strike happens in 2011. She records a track she co-wrote with Josh Ramsey and Tavish Crow.
Yeah.
And that song was Call Me Maybe.
The song.
The song. And the mechanics of how this song blew up are fascinating because it wasn't just organic radio play. It received a massive promotional push online from fellow Canadian Justin Bieber.
Oh, right. And in 2011, a viral endorsement from Justin Bieber was basically the equivalent of a $100 million marketing campaign.
Totally. It bypassed all the traditional gatekeepers, and that virality leads to Scooter Braun signing her to Schoolboy Records and Interscope.
Yeah.
And the stats on this track are just staggering.
They really are. I mean, it hit #1 in 19 different countries. Yeah. It spent 9 weeks at #1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. Billboard officially named it the Song of the Summer. And get this, it was the best-selling single of 2012 worldwide. It moved over 18 million copies.
18 million copies. I mean, it completely shifts the paradigm of human life. At that level of success, you aren't just a musician anymore. You are a highly lucrative corporate brand.
And that is exactly my question for you. When you have a song that sells 18 million copies, how does an artist follow that without just repeating themselves? Doesn't it become a trap?
It absolutely does. The industry expectation is that you will protect that asset by doing the exact same thing again. And initially she does. She follows it up in 2012 with her second album, Kiss, and she has another massive hit, the duet Good Time with Owl City.
Right, I remember that one being everywhere too.
She even sweeps the Juno Awards, taking home Album of the Year and Single of the Year. But you're right about the trap. She was suddenly pigeonholed. The industry and the public looked at her and viewed her strictly as a mainstream, teen-oriented pop act.
So she's stuck in a box. They just want, call me maybe part 2.
Exactly. The pressure from a major label like Interscope to deliver a sequel to an 18 million selling single is immense. And this is where we see the most critical turning point in her story.
Because she doesn't just go back into the studio with the top 40 hit makers, does she?
No. Instead of churning out another sugary radio track, she hits the reset button. Following a huge pop era, in 2014, she basically walks away from the pop machine and goes to Broadway.
Wait, Broadway? Like acting?
Yeah, she takes the lead role in Cinderella for a 12-week stint.
Wow, that is quite the left turn.
But going back to her theater roots was a brilliant palate cleanser. Doing Broadway strips away the ego of being a mega pop star, you know. It completely recalibrated her artistry.
And that recalibration sets the stage for June 2015, when she intentionally shifts gears and releases her third studio album, Emotion.
And Emotion is where everything changes. She totally abandons the teen pop sound. Instead, she leans heavily into 1980s pop influences. Think Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Prince.
But what's really fascinating is who she brings in to produce it. She doesn't hire the usual mega producers. She collaborates with these revered indie darling producers, people like Dev Hynes, Rustam Batmangli, Ariel Rekched.
Yeah, that specific combination, 80s synth pop gloss, layered over indie rock production sensibilities, it completely scrambled everyone's expectations.
It's like a Hollywood director who is known for making billion-dollar superhero movies suddenly taking a massive pay cut to shoot a deeply personal indie film for A24.
That is the perfect analogy. And just like an A24 indie film, the commercial results were completely different. Compared to Kiss, the Emotion album was a commercial failure.
Really? A failure?
Commercially, yes. It peaked at number 16 on the U.S. Billboard 200.
Okay, that is wild. If I'm an executive at Interscope and my artist just sold 18 million copies of her last single and her new album peaks at 16, I am terrified. She traded stadium ubiquity for what?
Well, she traded it for cultural longevity. Because while it was a commercial drop-off, it was a massive critical triumph. The music press absolutely adored it. It attracted a mature, discerning audience and secured her this ravenous cult following.
So she willingly risked mainstream commercial sales to find her true artistic voice.
Exactly. And you can see that shift in tone with the lead single, I Really Like You. The music video didn't feature a bunch of teenagers. It literally featured Tom Hanks lip-syncing her lyrics while walking down the street.
Oh my gosh, yes. The Tom Hanks video, that was so quirky and subversive.
It told the audience she wasn't taking the pop idol thing seriously anymore. And she spent the next decade nurturing that specific cult audience. She leaned into her new community.
And that community really embraced her. I mean, she is widely celebrated as a queer icon now, right? She frequently performs at pride parades.
She does, and her fan base feels very protective of her because she consistently demonstrates strong personal values. For example, back in 2013, she boldly pulled out of performing at the Boy Scouts of America National Scout Jamboree.
Oh, Oh, I remember hearing about that. Why did she pull out?
She did it specifically because of their policy on homosexuality at the time. She drew a line in the sand regarding her values.
And when an artist does that, they forge a bond with their audience that goes way beyond just a catchy chorus.
Exactly. And that bond is what allows her to be so prolific musically. Her voice became the perfect vehicle for this immense output. Critics classify her as a soprano, and they often describe her vocals as hushed, flawless, and airy yet precise.
It's a very specific texture, and she uses that voice to establish this really unique tradition of releasing what she calls B-side or companion albums.
Yes, the B-side strategy is fascinating. It started with Emotion, Side B, which earned massive acclaim all on its own.
And then she just kept doing it, right?
Yeah. She releases Dedicated in 2019 and follows it up with Dedicated Side B in 2020. She does it again with The Loneliest Time in 2022, following it up with The Loveliest Time in 2023.
I just find this so interesting because in the era of streaming, the concept of a B-side is almost obsolete. Why hold songs back just to release them a year later? Why not just make one massive album?
Well, the B-sides aren't just throwaways for her. They're essential to her relationship with her fans. By packaging these fully realized songs as Side B projects, she's showing her audience her entire creative process.
It proves she's a pop experimentalist.
Exactly. She's constantly creating. It rewards the listener who wants to dig deep rather than catering to someone who just wants a quick TikTok dance track.
It builds so much trust. And that trust brings us right up to the present day, summer 2026, where her personal and professional lives are just peaking in this amazing way.
Yeah, her personal life has seen some major updates. She married American record producer Cole MGN in October 2025.
Oh, wow.
And just recently, she gave birth to her first child, a daughter, on March 17, 2026.
Which is incredible. But you'd think new motherhood might slow her down professionally. But instead, she is entering a massive new chapter. Just last month, in June 2026, she announced her highly anticipated new project.
Day and night.
Yes, Day and Night. And it is incredibly ambitious. It's a massive 24-track double LP scheduled for September 18th, 2026.
And the lead single, On Wires, just dropped on June 26. Releasing a 24-track double album is just a massive flex of creative muscle.
Now, we have to add a bit of nuance here because we only have the facts of these milestones, a marriage, a baby, a huge double album. We can only really observe from the outside how these personal shifts are actually influencing the sound of Day and Night.
Right, we can't definitively speak to her exact mindset today, but we do know that she is operating with absolute creative freedom.
And total confidence from her fans. Because to bring it back to that opening tension we talked about, Carly Rae Jepsen could have so easily been swallowed whole by the phenomenon of Call Me Maybe.
She really could have. She could have just been a one-hit wonder playing legacy tours.
But instead, she survived the pop machine by subverting it. She proved that true artistic success isn't always measured by Billboard dominance. Sometimes it's about finding the exact right audience who appreciates your craft, your B-sides, and your evolution.
She stepped out of the brightest spotlight and found the freedom to actually do her best work.
It's such an incredible story, and it really makes you consider other areas of life or culture, like where else is a so-called commercial failure actually a profound long-term success? Does stepping away from mainstream expectations sometimes give you the exact space you need to thrive? It's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for listening to Pillapod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.